with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let it be known that Phil Farr is joining this meeting through Zoom. Do we have any superintendent remarks?
Absolutely. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, President Arnold, board members, community members. I hate to jinx myself, but I do like saying it. The school year is off to a very smooth start. I've spent a great deal of time in our schools the last 4 or 5 weeks. I've been talking with students and staff a lot, and even though your child may not admit it, or your children may not admit it, everyone likes being back in school. It's been as normal as a start to a school year as we've had since the start of 2019. After our last school board meeting, I listened, so I made a point of being in our high school on multiple days to watch transitions between class periods. And again, I'm jinxing myself and I'm jinxing Mr. Bosher a little bit, but the hallways are orderly, certainly not overly congested, and students move smoothly. In fact, I've been very impressed with everything I've witnessed district-wide. In our classrooms, our students and teachers are focused and working. For example, at the primary center, I'll walk into the pods and stick my head into classrooms. I quickly learned not to interrupt because I don't want to disrupt. It's complete engagement and focus that I'm witnessing. We have great schools and a great school district. We offer so much to our students. Take our high school, for instance. The amount of student programs available is nothing short of impressive. And I'll ask Mr. Bosher, how do we do it? I've quickly learned that the answer is always going to be because we're the high school. There are high quality learning experiences taking place throughout our district, and I'm thrilled to be reporting that. My number one goal this year, and I know I reported on my goals last time, but is to make sure that as a district, our primary focus is academic. I've challenged my assistant superintendent, Mary Jean Egan, with the task of ensuring that the academic focus remains at the forefront of everything that we're going to do. She's doing an awesome job making sure we all keep student academic growth and achievement as our top priority. And maybe the most exciting news I'm going to share tonight is that our high school pool is open to the community again. We were finally able to secure lifeguards. It's open for lap swimming every Tuesday and Thursday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. There's water aerobics each Wednesday from 4:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon. And we're even able to offer open swim sessions every other Thursday evening from 6:30 to 8:30. And the next open swim session, if families want to bring their children, is next Thursday, September 29th. The hours for the pool, I know I said them fast, but they're also listed on the new digital sign out by Curry Donuts that Mr. Bosher updates from his phone every morning. I know that many in our community were eager to get the pool back open, and I'm thrilled to have a very small part in making that happen, but really all the credit for getting the pool back open to the community does go to Todd Bosher. He went above and beyond making sure to get lifeguards certified and getting their clearances. He did an outstanding job with that. He's an extremely valuable member of my administrative team, and he's an asset to our entire community. Thank you very much, Mr. Bosher. During the first few weeks of the year, we saw a spike in students and staff identified with COVID. Thankfully, that was very short-lived. However, I was one of those affected, or I should say infected. But since the first 2 weeks, the COVID positive numbers that we were seeing have been consistently dropping. I'm very thrilled to announce that Governor Wolf recently announced that starting October 1st, all students in Pennsylvania are eligible for a free school breakfast for the entire school year. As you may know, all the students in the PC and the IC already receive free breakfast and free lunch. This announcement from the governor's office will make a positive impact on our high school. Starting October 1, all high school students will receive a free breakfast if they want one. That's certainly good news for our high school students and their parents. If you recall, a few months back, we engaged an engineering firm that had extensive school district experience, Dewey Engineering, to look at some potential capital projects, mostly HVAC. As I've shared previously, we have allocated some ESSER 3 money and some bond funding that we've set aside to target HVAC projects. This evening, I was going to present extensively about potential projects, but upon further thinking, instead tonight, when it gets to that agenda item, I'm going to be requesting that the board schedule a standalone buildings and grounds committee meeting so that I could share detailed information, thus allowing committee members to discuss the options, speak with the engineering firm, and and speak with their fellow board members and potentially make a recommendation next meeting back to the full board. I'm sure that some of you have noticed that on the agenda this evening is the first read of our 100 level policies. Board, if you recall, a few months back we discussed how outdated many of our policies were. We entered into a contract with PSBA, which is the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, to assist with updating policies. As I stated, tonight on the agenda is the first read of our 100 level policies, but I'm going to tell you nothing procedural has changed in them. The updates consisted mostly of legal language updates, as a number of policies we had contained language that didn't apply with current school code. For example, one had a reference to No Child Left Behind, which no longer exists. The good thing about engaging PSBA to assist is they legally vet all of the policy language. Again, there are no procedural changes to anything that we're currently doing. Last Thursday and Friday, our staff received training in building security and active shooter response. Unfortunately, these types of trainings are the reality of being an educator. Many groups stepped up to assist with our training, including the township and borough police. Wyoming County DA Peters was here, as was Detective Dave Ide. They were on hand. EMS was here. Representatives from the state police were here. Lackawanna County SWAT team was here. Mr. Seberg, are we missing anybody? Okay, so we had a great team here providing the training. And I found the training, I participated the entire time, I found it to be very informative, and I was very impressed with how our staff listened and participated very intently. I'd like to thank our Security Director, Rich Seberg, for organizing the information sessions and the drills. I'm happy to report that we have very safe schools. Our district has an excellent security team that always keeps student safety at the top of their list. As some of you may know, last Saturday, September 17th, was National Constitution Day. To both celebrate and teach our students about the Constitution, I directed our principals to have our history and social studies teachers conduct activities that would teach students about the U.S. Constitution. On a different topic, a few weeks back, Mrs. Egan and I went to the Wyoming County Fair. One day after the school day ended. It was great. The organizers did an absolutely fantastic job. We watched performances. I even tried to talk Mrs. Egan into getting shot out of the cannon, but she wouldn't bite on that. But we also had snacks, we fed animals, we checked out the vendors, but the most important part and the best part, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, is we spent time talking with some of our students that were showing animals. And the fair is such a great community event, and we're certainly very proud of our students that participated at the Wyoming County Fair. Last evening, Dr. Suppan represented our school district at the Wyoming County Supervisors Dinner at Triton. I appreciate him attending on behalf of our district. He even spoke briefly to all that were in attendance, and he reported that the food was very good and dinner was outstanding. Recently, Mr. Bosher, Special Ed Director Jeff Craig, and I helped at the monthly food giveaway that occurs at our high school. Immediately after school on the second Tuesday of every month, And we were happy to load groceries into the vehicles of a couple hundred families that participated. And the food giveaway is such an outstanding program, and the regular volunteers that attend, our friends are in the back there, they're always at the board meeting. Thank you so much for doing what you do. The regular volunteers that attend, they're special people that dedicate themselves to helping people in need, and we're very happy to have a partner and to partner with that. Also, as you may reminder, we had a voluntary immunization clinic earlier this month. There was 177 vaccinations administered to those that attended on that day. That was more than I had anticipated, and I was pleasantly surprised. One of those was me. I got my flu shot that day. The people that came, especially some of the senior citizens, were extremely thankful that our district hosted the clinic. They mentioned it to me. And they were, a couple made comments that they were happy they did not have to drive to Pittston or Wilkes-Barre to get the vaccine they were seeking. So many asked me to consider hosting another one next fall, and that's something that, I won't worry about until a year from now. I've been thrilled with the attendance at our school events this year. In particular, the football games have been packed. It's great to see the community come out and support our students. Our football team is home again this Friday evening. This game's theme will be Primary Center Night and Military Appreciation Night. Primary Center students that attend will be able to run onto the field through the giant inflatable tiger, just like our IC students and Principal Nicole Calderon ran through the inflatable last week at the game. I hope to see another great crowd, so please come out, support our student athletes. They play so hard. Support the cheerleaders, support the band members, and if you can, get there a little early and watch the band march down from the high school. It's really cool. As always, thank you, President Arnold, and the entire board for giving me the opportunity to provide some updates.
Thank you, Superintendent Doherty. Let the record show that before this meeting, we held an executive session, and that we discussed some collective bargaining strategy, personnel matters related to specific employees, a legal settlement or litigation with special ed student, and legal cases. There are now 3. George Uhas versus TASD 2022-19, George Uhas and Bella Canella versus TASD 2022-19 for the first, 2022-113 for the second, and a new one, which is legal paperwork for a fee schedule filed in the Loudoun County Courthouse by George Uhas. With that, we'll have public comment rules and procedures. Public comment on agenda items only. There will be a 4-minute limit per person per public comment period. When it's your turn to speak, you please come to the microphone, state your name and municipality and which agenda items you're speaking about. All speakers must be residents, taxpayers, students, or staff of the TASD. If at any point during the meeting someone feels the need to object to something the board is doing as related to Title 65, Part 2, Chapter 7, also known as the Sunshine Act, please go to the mic, state your name, as well as the section and subsection of Chapter 7 you believe is being violated. The presiding officer and/or district solicitor will make a determination on the stated objection. That determination is final for the purposes tonight. And without any other comments, we'll open the floor to public comment on agenda items only.
Don't start my time yet, please. Okay, good evening, board. George Uhas. So I'd like to talk about the minutes, and I know that we can't possibly write all the minutes down, but these 2 are very important to me. They need to make it in there. We spoke about the minutes of reminding, I got to remind the board that last week, Mr. Doherty, like Mrs. McPherson, and even Mr. Doherty had a chance to have a superintendent discussion. And somehow that I was denied my First Amendment right to have that open discussion. The segment was superintendent discussion. And basically, we already know what the discussion definition is: a consideration or a question in an open and informal debate. Not only was my First Amendment right denied, and my opportunity to speak to my superintendent in the open where maybe my questions would have been important, and it turns out they would have been very important for the public to hear. Not everybody can come here, but I was still denied that by the board. So that First Amendment violation wasn't bad enough. Now we've changed the agenda to call it remarks to try to cover up the crime, but it's already done. You can see where the discussions were had in the past. There's already precedents where we actually follow the definition of discussion, and you have the superintendent discussion. He's my superintendent, not just yours. Therefore, I should be able to have my open discussion with him. The second one is, we talked about in the past, and it really hasn't made it to the minutes, but there needs to be a thorough consideration of the use of the phone system. We were told offhand that, we don't want to make it too cumbersome, people aren't going to take it serious. In the past, this past month, we tried to hire janitors using our phone system. So why not ask people to come, hey, we're going to have a $4 million budget meeting, come on down. Why not tell your constituents, hey, there's a really important matter at the school board, here it is. If we're going to hire janitors and kitchen help, why can't we get people here? Because that's going to be transparency. So that's really important to me to eventually do that. Also, during that same message, we talked about the vaccine clinic and simply said, Mr. Doherty simply said, there's going to be that vaccine clinic. It will help keep the kids in school. When in fact, there's no law that says you need a vaccine to stay in school. Even though he didn't mean it, it still should have been thought about a little bit, and somebody should have countered that with, hey, by the way, you can opt out of these vaccines too. You can't have one viewpoint aired on that system. I'm looking for the case law. We're working on it. Why make me legally make you guys give us airtime, if you would, on that, versus you all come up with that great idea because you're our board. You should give equal viewpoints on there. And that's not an equal viewpoint when you say, hey, the vaccine clinic's free and it's great that it was available, but immediately after that, it should have said, hey, by the way, you can opt out and here's where you can get the opt-out sheet. Because the last thing was said was, it will help keep kids in school. That could give that illusion that, in fact, the kids need to get it done to help them stay in school, and that doesn't exist. So please consider thinking about that more, getting that into the minutes, that somehow that we got to have either a special committee meeting to really think about how we can use that. Don't make George Uhas have to find a legal reason to make you guys consider it. Consider it. It's a great idea. For God's sake, you're hiring janitors and kitchen aides from it. Why not use it to get more people here, get more people involved? Because quite frankly, I get to sit down more and other people get to talk. So thank you, guys. Do I still have time? The PSBA, the policies that we hired out, you guys all got them at 2:31, I think, yesterday, at the same time I got them. Did anybody get a chance to read that huge docket yet? Because if you're going to vote on it today, do you really want to? You're going to look at it. I appreciate Mr. Doherty. I don't know if he actually got to read the whole thing, but my board, I'd like to know if my board actually read that entire thing. What changes are they making? Because the PSBA is not our friend. They're doing things that helped other entities get in here. So please, somebody tell me that they might consider tabling this till you all can actually read it page for page before you vote on it. Because just to go rubber stamping could be bad. Thank you, guys.
George, just so you know,
Yes, ma'am.
we have to have 3 readings on that.
Yep.
2.
Or 2. Tonight is just the first one.
Yeah.
So then we can take it apart and we can, at the next meeting, revisit it.
I know. I
Bring
would.
up
I would
our
And the
concerns.
board has had these policies since last week, and they've been on our website for public consumption since
oh,
Monday.
these changes?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, good. That's what I want to know. So the actual changes that came, just because they came out yesterday at 2:31, doesn't mean
No,
you guys had.
they were on the district website for all people to see on Monday morning.
Okay, thank you very much. That's good to know.
Any other public comment?
My name is Michael Lacey, and Bill, my back's bothering me, so I'll have to see you afterwards. I just have a comment. When I was thinking of coming to this and doing it, I like to be involved in my government, and I think it's important that we all do that. And one of the things, it's, I don't know, sitting on my mower today, and I had a talk with God, and I thought, what is the message? And I respect Mr. Uhas completely because he sees a need and he's fulfilling it. And I hope we give him that respect with the board. I know it's difficult. I know he presses you, but that's not what God told me today. He said, it's time that we have a message of hope, because that's what I am. I'm hope. I'm encouragement. And what we see is this constant struggle. And I think there should be a struggle. That's what we have as citizens, to struggle with our government. But prior to that, I was able to see something, and I don't want to upset anybody here, because if I want to be the best I can be, if I want to be the best physiatrist, I go to Bill Perbola. That's what I do. But I was exposed to a school locally in the Bear Creek area, and this school is incredible, working with similar budgets. And I'm like, what is the difference? What is that key thing? Why are they building a 37,000 square foot new addition? Why are they have 600 students begging to get in, and they're in a lottery system? What is that key? And I'm just here to tell you that I see hope. I see hope for our kids, and I respect what Mr. Doherty's doing. I'm seeing some big changes, but I'm just encouraging perhaps somebody on the board, perhaps Mr. Doherty, would reach out to these people and say, you know, can we have a chat? Can we see what you're doing that we're not? That we have children that are inspired, we have teachers that are inspired, we have families that are inspired. What is that difference? And I'm just here to give that message of hope, that there might be additional things that we can do that we don't know. You know, it's that old statement, you have to know you don't know. And that was the message I got riding on that mower today. And I just wanted to share that with you, and that's the end of the message. But I just encourage folks to reach out to these folks. And you probably, it's the Bear Creek, and I know it's a charter school. I don't want to freak everybody out here. But they shouldn't be an enemy. They should be a source of resource to see what we can do to do what they're doing. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment on agenda items?
Sheila Donnelly, Tunkhannock Township. On page 3, I just had a question about, I know it's on page 65 and 66 of the document. Just if anybody could give me an explanation about the mental health program conference and trauma program on 2A and B. It was at the top. Any more detail on that?
Talking about, if you want to give a quick.
Sheila, excuse me. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'd be happy to have Mr. Seberg address that when it comes up, and he could even explain it in detail for the board. That's a required training for our school security officers.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment on agenda items? Seeing none? No, you get one. Sorry, sir. Is it an objection?
Well, I was expecting you to say no, so I'm going to give my legal objection first. So my legal objection is that it states in the Sunshine Law that as a taxpayer in the subdivision, it's going to be section 710 of the Sunshine Law, section D, where it allows me to be able to comment and deliberate on matters that are going to have an official action taken on them. If
We already had that.
Please don't interrupt me. I'm not finished with my objection. So I talked on my other matters. There's almost 50 matters of discussion here. And to think that I have 4 minutes for 50 matters, that's not what the Sunshine Law says. You're not allowed to break the Sunshine Law with any of your statutory rules that we make.
We hear you.
Let me
but
finish.
your-
I
your
did not
objection-
finish.
What you are.
I
but your
did not
objection is
finish my
overruled.
objection.
We are not extending comment period.
I did not. I'm not
Mr.
asking for
Uhas.
an extended. I'm not asking.
Okay.
What are you seeking?
So,
The microphone back on. I want to finish my legal objection first.
I heard your objection.
No, you can't possibly. I'm the one giving it. I'm not
Well, I heard
finished.
it. You said that there's many items,
No,
and that you didn't have, you only have 4 minutes.
I have an official action that I wish to speak on because the Sunshine Law says I can speak on all official action.
And you had your opportunity.
So
This
my-
is denied.
So
Let's
if
move
my-
on.
so, okay,
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 6, approval, item 5 there is the enrollments on pages 7 through 10 for everybody's information. Item 6, approval of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 7, business and finance. Do we have a motion for items 1 through 6?
Motion to approve 1 through 6.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
No.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Superintendent's report. I recommend we take these one at a time.
Great. I recommend a resolution be adopted approving the personnel report as presented.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes.
Number 2, recommend a resolution be adopted approving conferences attendance as listed. Rich Seaberg going to CPI mental health program, Rich Seaberg CPI trauma program, Rich Seaberg school safety conference, Todd Bosher school safety conference. The only charge for that is a mileage reimbursement. Paul Doherty superintendent leadership retreat, Dr. Charles Suppan superintendent leadership retreat. There is 0 cost associated with that one. Annie Moran Page Conference, Andrew Ulichny Pennsylvania Co-op Educator Conference, Paul Molesky Mental Health ICP Training, and Joe Gahn Mental Health ICP Training. Mr. Seaberg, if you could please come and give the board just a brief overview of what those trainings are. And Mrs. Egan, I think you also have some information about the trainings and the funding sources.
Let's do.
Hello. The mental health training for CPI, I am the CPI coordinator and trainer for the district. So this is new training that has come forward through nonviolent crisis intervention.
Mr. Seaberg, can you just for everyone's, can you explain the acronym CPI or just what it stands for?
Yeah, CPI is just a private institute that teaches nonviolent crisis interventions for school districts or hospitals or businesses that, for us, it's the training for different situations that occur with students so we can understand it better. So I've been training that for about 10 years in the district. The classes that I'll be attending now are further in-depth course on mental health, so that when I give classes to the rest of the staff, that we have a better understanding of the mental health process of our students. And the trauma base is just as important because it deals with precipitating factors that may occur outside of the school environment that the students are bringing into the building that we can understand better, but also so that we understand that we can also be a precipitating factor towards our student, and that we can sometimes be a detriment depending on how we speak to our kids. So we have to understand that process.
Escalation versus de-escalation.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what the trainings are for. And what was the last training?
It's for the ones for Officer Molesky and Officer Gahn, their
ICP.
trainings.
They're going to be going to the same training classes, only I'm going to be the instructor for it.
Okay.
And then there was another one for myself and Mr. Bosher?
School safety.
Yeah, that's school safety conference. That's,
all right.
But Mrs. Egan, that I believe, Mrs. Egan, I believe the ones for Mr. Officer Molesky and Officer Gahn, they're being financed through the PCCD grant. a large portion of it being financed through the PCCD grant, and then a smaller portion is being financed through the security budget.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion for number 2?
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goldbolt?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes.
And number 3, potential capital project presentation. I spoke briefly at the start of the meeting. We did engage an engineering firm, Dewey Engineering, out of the Bethlehem area that does do extensive work in school districts to look at various projects throughout our district, mostly HVAC in nature, because we have approximately $3 million in ESSER 3 funds and remaining bond money that we wanted to spend, and we wanted to know exactly what we would get for our money. So we did have them look at a variety of different areas in all of our buildings, and basically they came up almost with a cafeteria style plan, like if you wanted to do this, this is the cost, and it spells out quite a lot. It's a lot that we're gonna have to look at and digest, and that's why I suggested, instead of trying to do it this evening, I think it's probably better served in its own committee meeting. So tonight I am requesting that the board consider scheduling a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting to go over the information, and I'll ask that the engineering firm actually be on hand to address any questions that you have.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
could you ask them to include some calculations on payback on the energy savings items?
Yes, that is being worked on. Mr. Shapolsky did gather a great deal of information about what we're paying in utilities now. It has been forwarded to them, so they are working on that right now. Director Farr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's great timing, because we are now at the committee reports section. So if we want to get that ball rolling with the scheduling of the Building and Grounds Committee, do we want to do that now, or do you want to talk to Burke and find out?
I was gonna email Bert to talk to him on the phone, schedule, this way we're all on the same page, that we can all sit down and have a meeting, advertise to the public, and the public can come, so.
Great.
And I would want it to be a separate night from a board meeting night, because that could be a lengthy discussion.
Okay. I would ask that we add on to the agenda for that a discussion. So there were 4 board members that participated in the active shooter and safety trainings last week on Friday. And I would ask that we put some discussion on there about some security options for the classroom doors.
Sure.
That was something that came up repeatedly. And there's a plethora of options out there. So. Any other committee reports? Okay. We have no unfinished business. Under new business, number 1, update on right-to-know requests.
For 22-23, we've received 10 right-to-know requests so far this year. 3 additional right-to-knows were received since the last board meeting. 9 of the 10 have been fulfilled or partially denied. 1 right-to-know request is yet to be fulfilled. Currently, there are no outstanding appeals with the Office of Open Records. No additional bills have been received since the last board meeting. The dollar amount we gave at the last board meeting still stands, $64,501.29 spent on attorney's fees for our right-to-knows.
Any questions or discussion from the board? Item 2, the TASD Visa account is there for everybody's review. And item 3, the Kelly Services substitute teacher fill rate information is available on pages 74 and 75. Item 4, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving a revised 2022-2023 academic calendar as presented.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, President Arnold, if I may, the only change on this is moving parent conference days. Initially, it was scheduled for October 5th, It's in the contract, the teacher's contract, that it's on the Thursday after the halfway point, so we are moving it to that Thursday instead of the Wednesday. That's the only change.
So the February parent-teacher conference stays the same? So
Yes,
you're
I mean,
changing the October
we had
conference
moved
date.
it initially to
Okay.
Wednesday because of,
Yep.
the conflict with the bonfire. And, I don't want to compete with the bonfire.
Yeah.
But the bonfire is going to be on Wednesday this year.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question. So, according to this calendar, graduation would be May 31st on a Wednesday night. Yes,
At the
no?
last meeting, we said that that would be revisited as we move throughout the
As we
school year. Yeah,
After we see how many snow days and stuff?
but I'm open to any kind of friendly amendment if you want, certainly, if you
I
want
would,
to make
I
one.
would
I
like
don't-
us,
we
we
don't have
can't
gradu-
really to predict the weather, but as long as we're gonna revisit it, because I really would like graduation on a Friday.
Oh, graduation on a Friday was pretty much agreed upon
Yes.
across the board. Whether that Friday was going to be
The 26th
the
or-
26th or or
Right.
Friday the 2nd was up in the air depending on how things went. But we have not set a graduation date, but it will be a Friday.
Right, and we're gonna definitely revisit this, right, correct?
Yeah, we typically
Okay.
set a graduation date in like March-ish, April, once we,
Okay.
right, Mr. Bosher? Yes.
Okay, thanks.
We have a motion, we still need a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes,
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Number 5, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving an affiliation agreement for student teaching and student observers with King's College.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett? Yes. Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 6, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving Dewey Engineering Incorporated to provide design, construction, and administration services for approved projects. This is not approving projects, this is approving them to be a consultant for that.
That's correct, and if we don't approve projects, we don't pay them.
Right. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett? Yes. Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 7, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving the installation of a Little Free Library on the Intermediate Center grounds in memory of Molly Coker.
Motion to approve. It's a great idea.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett?
yes,
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Number 8, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving a student settlement for student 7453148898.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
yes,
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 9, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving a sponsor-to-sponsor agreement for food service between Luzerne County Head Start Incorporated and TASD from July 1st, 2022 through July 30th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
yes,
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 10, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving a budget transfer for CTE as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
yes,
Mrs. Eckerd? Yes. Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 11, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving the transportation contract for use between contractors and TASD.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Where'd we get this? Is this a template from someplace else? Is there any significant change from?
There's nothing. It's
Prior
the
years,
same one
okay.
we use every year.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Pravola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Abstain.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 12, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving Luzerne Intermediate Unit's daily rate for partial hospitalization therapeutic services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Similar contract like the last one. This is the same one that we've always used.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just approving the rate. We currently have one student in the LIU partial hospitalization program.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett? Yes. Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pravola?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 13, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving an agreement between the Children's Service Center of Wyoming Valley Incorporated and TASD for an educational component within its Milford E. Barnes Junior School for the 2022-2023 school year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett? Yes. Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pravola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 14, the following board policies will be retired. This is not a vote. This will happen as the readings, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is just your first notice that we will be retiring these policies. And then item 15, also not a vote tonight, first reading of the following board policies. And as Superintendent Doherty mentioned, this was all done through our administrative staff and with collaboration with PSBA. So it's there for your review. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Any changes they want to recommend? Okay, that will be on the next board meeting for approval. Number 16, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving the use of Tunkhannock High School by the United Methodist Homes, Tunkhannock Manor, in the event of an emergency or disaster.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other comment
I
or?
just had a question. So that's if there's an emergency with there, that they would be here.
Yes. Yeah, we're just being good neighbors. If they had to evacuate their facility, we would help them.
So, and I think in the past what has happened, when the schools have been using the emergency shelter for something, usually we would use the gym area, which can be easily blocked off from any student access or interaction between. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct. That happened during the tornado.
Right.
Yeah, and Mr. Seaberg worked extensively with United Methodist Homes on this.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second? All right, having a motion and a second, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett? Yes. Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pravola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Number 17, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving a memorandum of understanding between TASD and Hands of Wyoming County for use of space for Brenda Mills Truancy Home to School Liaison for the 2022-2023 academic year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pravola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett? Yes. Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. And the last item, if you look on pages 123 and 124, would be PSBA elections. We do not, I believe, have any of the section advisors that are our area this year, so it comes down to the president, vice president, and they are unopposed. I did have the opportunity to meet both of them I was one of 16 people in the state asked to be part of the PSBA platform committee to talk about what the priorities are and what we're going to be advocating for in Harrisburg. And both of them were on that committee with me this last Saturday. And both of them I could say nothing negative about. They were very thoughtful and I think they'll do a great job. So I'm making the recommendation as the PSBA liaison that we set our vote for Michael Gossert and Allison Mathis. I think we would need a motion and a second.
To vote for these?
Yeah.
And are we separating them out or just both of them?
I think we would just choose the slate, if you will, considering they're not opposed. I don't really think any of them are opposed, so we would just vote the slate that is
So you need a motion to approve voting
for the slate of
for the
officers.
slate of, okay, motion to approve voting for the slate of, what is it, PSBA officers?
Yes.
Yep.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett? Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. All right, and with that, we have our final public comment period for the evening. 4 minutes to anybody who would like to speak, who is a resident, taxpayer, or student, or staff of TASD.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Brody from Northmoreland Township. I have a question for the capital projects. Besides Dewey, what other, or how many other companies were looked at for engineering or CM work?
There was none.
Okay, so there was no vetting out or looking at competitiveness? I was just reviewing the rates and they seem really high, so that's why I was wondering.
Thank you. No, I mean, they're an expert with schools, and services are not subject to that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other public comment?
Yes, once again, Michael Lacey, and Mr. Doherty, and perhaps you can help me, in the last, when I was here last, we had talked about the budget, and I had pointed out that I was concerned about the proposed outdoor learning center. And I know that was taken away, but that line item was about $250,000. Could you tell me where that $250,000 went to? Was it taken off the budget? Was it put into another project? I was just wondering if anybody had a comment on that.
I apologize. I'm
That
not
was
really
not his
following.
plan. So that was Heather's plan, and he revised that plan when he came on board and after Heather left. So that money is part of that $3 million or whatever that's left from the ESSER money. It would have come out of that had it been done.
Right, but since we took the one project and we got rid of that, what are we doing with the other $250,000?
Well, it's part of the $3 million. There's $3 million left over from ESSER that we're going to look at for these HVAC upgrades and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it just exists.
Mike, it's not spent yet. We just put it back in and we're looking at additional.
It's back in the
Okay,
pot.
so it's a fund sitting here for a future need.
We didn't use it,
Is
right?
that fair?
Yeah, it'll-
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I was hoping to give somebody else a chance to try to give you an opportunity to remedy any violations, but your executive session doesn't have specificity. Reading versus Eagle, it's an easy read. It was a recent case. The president has stated it in the past. Please read the Reading versus Eagle. Look for specificity. I'm asking anybody now want to take a minute and give some specificity to your executive session? You want to give some specificity?
We were specific. Thank you.
Okay, so you're not going to do that? Okay.
We offered specificity.
The violation will just go through, thank you. So, I wish, is John Burke on phone? Is he here? I still got to go through with this, and I'll talk to him in person if he wants to. So I really think you guys got to consider looking at your, policy 827. John did assure me one time that he had 3 attorneys tell him it was okay for him to be in the roles that he's in, being how he has a family member in the school. He has a business that can be enriched by the school faculty. And if you need 3 attorneys to tell you it's okay, it's probably not okay. But you need to take a look at read policy 827 if you haven't, and all applicable laws that go to that, all PA school code that goes to that, any constitutional amendments that goes towards the emolument stuff. Really take a hard look at it, because we are. How great would it be for y'all to make a decision without having to cause a major legal battle? So it probably wasn't reviewed in a while. There's a good chance there's some documents missing that has to be filled out when you have to give notice of potential. Like, we're supposed to abstain from all official action where he can enrich himself, correct? So he has a business right now that's advertising for the school faculty to come on over and deposit some money with them. Right after he helped you guys bait and switch the 2 mil increase. And he took official action. Voting just isn't official action. He commented. You can go back and review the videos. He might have said something along the lines, hey, if you guys got a better way of doing it, then why don't you do it? Scare you into voting maybe his way, who knows? He's not supposed to comment. He's not supposed to deliberate. He's not supposed to vote. It's right in the Sunshine Law and definition what official action is. It's not just voting. He's supposed to take no official action. He should be mum when it's time where he possibly can get enriched by helping maybe his family get enriched or his business get enriched. You really need to look at that, because if you don't, we'll finish up. But I think this would be a really big deal for other board members to take a hard look at that. The special need child that came up in legal issues, it wasn't real specific, so I don't know what you're talking about, but it's a good segue because Governor Wolf's about to give $200 million towards mental health grants. Please read the grants before you get us into a bunch of garbage, because you still don't have the ESSER plan, the 78-page ESSER plan on the website for parents to see, because if they read what it said, they'd be pretty pissed at you, and that's why it's still not on the webpage. And I can argue legally that that's important information to have on the website, and it's not there. So instead of making me argue legally and you guys cost yourselves money because you won't put it on there, put it on there, for God's sake. I've been asking for months. Because you're about to take more. You're a thirsty school district. You're low on funds. You're thirsty for money. You will drink tainted water. You would kill yourself because you need funds. $21,000 to graduate a kid versus $15,000 out of college prep. And you're still thirsty, and you're still taking money. You're going to take these crazy grants when potentially that mental health, that child that you guys have some type of legal issue with, you have to ask yourself, did you guys follow policy? Did you read the policy? I'm telling you, if you read the policy yourself, all the policies that go around disciplinating a child with needs or disciplinary action toward a child with mental needs, you would see that, holy cow, they followed up. Why would you enrich a group of people who are making common mistakes now, not giving due justice to somebody who has special needs? Let's give them more money, reward that? No. Take care of the basics. We have rules for a reason, as Mr. Audi would say. And rules aren't being followed. Mrs. Holly Arnold, and unfortunately my friend Mr. Lacey didn't know he was going to talk about his God. Well, my dear president here likes to mock gods on platforms as a head of your board, mocking people's gods. And if you'd like to do a FOIA request, do it quickly before she takes it down. If she takes it down, I got it for you.
Any other public comment? Okay, public comment is closed. I will go on the record as stating that John Burke stands as an ultimate example of integrity in this community and is a valued member of this school board. And there's no question of his appropriateness on this board. I don't have a question on it, and if any of the other board members have a question, I would advise that you talk to Mr. Audi, but we will be blessed to have Mr. Burke on this board as long as he's willing to serve with us. So, any other public comment? Or not board comment?
Yeah, I do. I want to address a couple of things that I think are important. I had a great experience at the IC this week. I was invited by Mr. Barkley and Ms. Johnson to go over and speak to the STEM Academy I guess there were about 100 kids there. And Mr. Lacey got up here and he talked about hope, and he talked about God. And I think it's important for this community to know that what I saw and what I've seen over the last 8 to 10 years that I've been on the board, 8 years, sorry, and then 2 years before that in coaching, my wife coming into this school, I think there's a lot of hope, Mark. I've seen hope on these kids' faces, on these administrators, on the parents, and I'll lump in, I believe we have a quality school district. Now, you mentioned a different charter school. I think we do it right here at Tunkhannock. I think we have Tiger pride at all levels, in the students, in the community, at the games, the sporting events, choir, musical. Lastly, I think we strive for excellence. I know our teachers, administrators, this board, we strive for excellence. Are we perfect? No. There's absolutely no organization that's completely perfect. But we do strive for excellence, and we strive to do it better all the time. We have people in our community that voted for us to come up and represent them. So we ran for the board to represent people. We have people that come to this meeting and all they want to do is turn up the heat, but they have no answers. They have no answers for difficult solutions, and that's what I think this board tries to do. Are we perfect? No. But Mike, I appreciate your comments with God and quality and hope, because I think we as a board exemplify that, and I think our community exemplifies that, and you'll always have the naysayers. But I think this district, our staff, students, families, everybody in the community strives to make this place better for the kids. I just think that that's important to say. That's all. Thank you very much.
Any other board comments? Do we have motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Mark, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you afterwards.